Okay, I gotta stop. I'm gonna get too wrapped up in doing that. If I keep playing ragtime, I will never get out of here. I think I played that one for you before. That's called Dallas Rag, and that, I guess I'm gonna carry on. It is October 17th. Oh, Earthquake Day here in Northern California, 25 years ago. It was a rough day. Okay, I'll save that for later, but man, October 17th, never forget that date. Anyway, that is today, right? Okay, yeah, good. And here, this is the news for this week. A lot of things going on this week, and this, you may not have noticed, but I tend to have a little bit obsessive compulsive disorder sometimes, and when I get like excited about something, it starts taking over my life. Sometimes writing a new piece. Well, anyway, more on that later. No more on that. Okay, what I really wanted to talk about was, thanks to the comments that went on last week, I jumped on the ragtime bandwagon again, and this is something that the Ragtime Revival in Neil's head gets fueled every few years, and I start digging out everything I have. I drag out my Scott Joplin book and look and work on things from piano arrangements, and start revisiting tunes that are, and the thing I played there at the beginning, Dallas Rag, was, as I've told the story before, but the piece that really I first heard a student trying to play, and that opened the door to playing ragtime on guitar. This was in about 1972 or so. Yeah, I think so. Wait a minute. It must have been 74. I think so. Yeah, because that's where I was teaching at the time. I know. Okay, it was 1974 when this guy came to me and asked me to try to play. His name was John Green. Anyway, I told you that story, and he was stumbling through Dallas Rag, and I thought, I got to get that book, I got to figure out how to play that song, I got to get more into ragtime guitar. Uh-oh. Okay, well anyway, that was an arrangement I did, I started a long time ago, never got around to, actually I might have finished it, but it's been so long now. Anyhow, it made me get out my old, Stephen Grossman books and records and everything else, and listening to Leo and all this other stuff that I talked about last week. And, well wait, first let me tell you what went on this week. Then I'll get back onto the ragtime kick. Got to divert every once in a while. We had a few new tunes. We had a little bit more ear training with the E and the A versions, working on hearing different things, hearing bass lines and stuff like that. And of course, a little uh-oh. Oh, it's out of tune. It's blues. Okay, well anyway, John Sebastian. Had to drop that one in there. And what else? Oh, and then we had little Sandy playing little guitar geography games with Lynn. So I hope people have checked in our fly on the wall things. Threw out a few more acoustic snapshots, and with our last, I promise, the last version of You Don't Bring Me Flowers, a little explanation on the thing, because that was probably about the 5th time we'd run through it, and I finally figured out what she was expecting to hear. Anyway, it's the best one, I think. Actually, some of the other ones might be okay too, but I never felt like we were on the same page. That's how the last one felt from the Friday night after camp at Annie's house. Anyway, things going on the forum that things I wanted to address, And one of them is, somebody had written in that they were looking for a Guitar Pro 5 file, and so some of the lessons don't have those. So if you ever see it, if you're looking for a GP5 file, just let me know, put a post up on the forum that this lesson doesn't have it, because once I started using 6, about a year and a half after I started using 6, I stopped putting up the 5 files, but they're really easy it's about a 10-second operation to load a GP5 file up there. So don't hesitate to ask if you're still living on GP5 and you want that. Speaking of which, Bill came up with a great question, just kind of like he was a new to Guitar Pro, and well, a few other people were, but it is a fantastic program, and I use it for writing out everything I do nowadays, which is going to lead me to one conflict with that in just a second. And that because at this point, once you start getting used to writing stuff out in it, frankly, if a student is working on something, it takes me less time to reach over the computer and text or type it out in Guitar Pro than it would in the olden days. Grab a piece of staff paper and start writing stuff down for them, or even a tablature page. So it really is great for writing out stuff. Let alone now, from a student's point of view, even just being able to hear a measure over and over and over, slow it down, and listen to it and see where all the beats are, is fabulous. So I think it's worth everybody's investment. Again, I'm not sure how much it is, $50 or $60 probably, because pretty much every lesson I do has a Guitar Pro file along with it, with a few notable exceptions. Many songs that I have arranged, I did so many years ago that I did them in Finale, and just never quite got around to putting them in Guitar Pro. So yeah, somebody was asking recently about a Guitar Pro file for Classical Gas. We have had some in the past, and I just noticed there were enough little inconsistencies in them with what the way my printed version of it goes, which pretty much came handed down from Mason himself, so it's pretty accurate. Anyway, speaking of Mason, that gets me on to I might get around to fixing up the Classical Gas one somewhere down the line. Although, one of my problems right now, we may have a shortage on lessons because we've run into camera problems. I'm living on camera number 3. 2 cameras are like on the fritz right now, and so anyway, hopefully that won't affect new stuff coming out next week. But anyway, yesterday, I was at the camera store, dropping off camera number 2. Camera 1's already there. Anyway, and on the way home, I thought, I haven't stopped by Streetlight Records, a used record store, in a long time, because I haven't bought. Well, I bought sitting over here the J.J. Cale tribute album a while ago, and so I thought, I'll just go in there and look around. I had a half an hour to kill or something, and happened to find something that made it worth the trip. It was a Mason Williams record from 1971, his second album called The Mason Williams Ear Show. And it includes no songs. Well, it includes Saturday Night at the World, $13 Stella, Road Song, which is actually pretty cool, his Barocca Nova, many tunes that showed up later. But, and Mason on the cover as a young man with his $13 Stella. There it is. How many people had Stellas in their career, or in their earlier... How many still do? Anyway, so that was one thing I saw there. And then, but actually that was the second thing I saw there. The first thing I walked by was a rack of old vintage guitar player magazines. And I thought, why would anybody want any of those? I mean, I've got stashes. I don't have any going back this far. And I saw this one. Jorma Kaukonen on the cover. I thought, oh, that looks interesting. I think I'll check it out and see if there's anything good in here. Well, the next article was on the Doobie Brothers. I thought, oh, that looks pretty cool too. So, and now I'm thinking, oh, is it worth $3? For a magazine that brand new was only $1 back in 1976. So we're talking about something that's almost 40 years old right now. And I thought, it'd be nice to still read a little interview with Jorma. Well, the fourth story is called Ragtime Guitar by Stefan Grossman, past and present. This is getting a little too karmic and weird, so I had to buy this. Now, the articles with Jorma and the Doobie Brothers are really not all that exciting. They're more about like what kind of gear do they use and stuff like that. But the article with Stefan is very interesting, and maybe I will scan it and make it available to everybody here. But talks about the Ragtime Revival of the 70s. And it really started, I'm sure many people are familiar with the movie, The Entertainer, The Sting. And that was Marvin Hamlish, 1974, that brought ragtime back into, it was part of the Ragtime Revival, which actually had started 4 years earlier because of this guy. Joshua Rifkin put out an album in 1970 of Joshua Rifkin, very talented young, he was in his 20s at the time, talented, virtuoso, who has also done a great album even earlier than this, 5 years earlier, Baroque versions of Beatles tunes. You got to check that one out. I don't have it handy here. But anyway, so Joshua Rifkin put out this record of him playing Scott Joplin stuff. And this one had the big stuff. Maple Leaf, Entertainer, Magnetic Rag, Fig Leaf, just some spectacular ones. And it did so well, it was one of the best-selling albums. They came out with a couple other versions later, Volume 3 and Volume 2. And of course I had to get all these out and listen to them over the last couple days. It's so nice. Lynn, I hope you're enjoying your nice stereo setup, because it's one of those things, when I put these on in the living room, on the giant speakers, it's so different. Anyway, got them all. Heliotrope Bouquet by William Bolcom, and his great tune, Graceful Ghost. I think that's almost everything I want to tell you, except that the best one by far was, this is one of my prized possessions, the complete works of Scott Joplin. 5 records by Dick Hyman, fabulous piano player, actually, and who also came out with an album in the 1968, the Electric Eclectics. First thing we ever heard that had the Moog synthesizer on it. Okay. I think I've run out of gas. What should I do? Okay, let me think. Oh, I do want to tell you one more thing. Ragtime guitar, where it really started. And that was Blind Blake, 1926, West Coast Blues, which I can't remember off the top of my head. This was really dumb to bring it up. But it did remind me of a really cool Blake tune. He also did. Okay, enough. Maybe some real ragtime next week.